At 4:47 a.m. on April 22, 1918, Staff Sergeant Thomas Edward Haines heard the sound that every soldier in the Western Front had learned to fear: the hollow thunk of gas canisters landing in no man's land. The 24-year-old Haines had been in France for 11 months, fought in 14 major engagements, watched 27 men from his company die, but he had never faced mustard gas in an active assault. That morning, 89 men occupied Trench 7 Alpha, a forward position 400 yards from German lines near Secapri, France. British 118th Infantry Battalion, undermanned, undersupplied, holding ground that High Command considered expendable. Haines commanded 3rd Platoon, former coal miner from Dereham, enlisted 1916, promoted to Staff Sergeant. March 1918, based on one thing: he kept more men alive than any other NCO in the battalion. Standard doctrine for gas attack: put on masks, wait for wind to shift, evacuate through communication trenches when possible. Problem was, communication trenches at Secapri had collapsed during artillery barrage 3 days earlier. Battalion command knew: no repair crew sent, no alternative evacuation route established. Intelligence had warned: Germans testing new delivery system for mustard agent. Heavier concentration, longer persistence. Standard British small box respirator provided maybe 90 minutes protection against normal concentrations. Against enhanced formula, protection time unknown. At 4:48 a.m., yellow-green cloud rolled toward Trench 7 Alpha. Wind from northeast at 8 miles per hour. Temperature 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity 73%. Conditions that kept gas low, thick, clinging to ground. Haines ordered masks on. 89 men pulled canvas respirators over faces, secured straps, checked seals. Procedure took 40 seconds. Some men slower. Private James Mitchell, 19 years old, fumbled with straps. Haines helped him. Mitchell's hands were shaking. Gas reached trench at 4:49 a.m., filled depression like water, filling bathtub. Yellow-green mist, 8 feet deep. Visibility reduced to arm's length. Smell like mustard and garlic penetrated even through mask filters. Men's eyes began to water, despite goggles. First man went down at 4:52 a.m., Private David Richardson. Mask seal had failed. Richardson clawed at his face, gasping. Fell to duckboards, other men backed away. Standard procedure: don't break your own seal trying to help. Richardson died in 90 seconds. Lungs blistered, throat closed. Haines watched, couldn't do anything. At 4:54 a.m., second man collapsed, then third, then 2 more. Mask seals failing under sustained exposure to concentrated agent. British respirators designed for brief contact, not immersion in heavy cloud for extended period. Haines counted men still standing. 84.5 dead in 6 minutes. Gas showed no sign of dissipating. Wind steady from northeast. No shift predicted until after dawn. Maybe 6:30 a.m., that was 1 hour 36 minutes away. Haines had studied gas characteristics during training. Mustard agent, heavier than air, sank to lowest points. But unlike chlorine or phosgene, mustard didn't disperse quickly. Clung to surfaces, contaminated everything it touched. Could remain lethal for days in enclosed spaces. Trench 7 Alpha was 380 feet long, averaging 6 feet deep, 4 feet wide at bottom. Volume approximately 9,120 cubic feet. Gas cloud filled entire space. No clear air pockets, no high ground to climb to. Communication trenches collapsed. Climbing over top meant exposing to German machine gun fire. Secapri sector was active front. Germans maintained overlapping fire lanes. Anyone who climbed out would be cut down in seconds. Battalion headquarters, 800 yards to rear. No radio in forward trench. Only communication. Runner. Sending runner meant sending man into gas cloud, through 800 yards of open ground under machine gun fire. Suicide mission. Even if runner made it, relief force would take 20 minutes minimum to arrive. Haines checked his respirator filter. Canvas already showed yellow staining. charcoal and soda lime filter, designed for 90 minutes against standard concentration. Against this enhanced formula, filter life, unknown. Could be 60 minutes, could be 40, could fail any moment. At 4:58 a.m., 3 more men collapsed. Mask filters failing. Men clawing at faces, trying to breathe through blistered throats. Haynes heard them choking. Wet, rattling sounds. Then silence. 77 men left standing. Then Haynes had an idea. Fire consumes oxygen, creates updraft. Hot air rises, carrying gases upward with it. If fire was hot enough, intense enough, it could create column of rising air that would lift mustard gas out of trench, disperse it into atmosphere above. Problem: everything in trench was wet. April rain for 3 days straight. Duckboards soaked. Sandbags dripping. Equipment damp. No dry kindling. Nothing that would burn hot enough, fast enough to create necessary updraft. Except ammunition. British .303 rifle cartridges. Each soldier carried 150 rounds. 77 men still standing meant approximately 11,550 rounds. Each cartridge contained 37 grains of cordite propellant. Cordite burned at 3,700 degrees Fahrenheit. If Haynes could ignite all those cartridges simultaneously, heat release would be massive, enough to create powerful updraft. But cordite, in sealed brass cartridge, wouldn't ignite easily, needed extreme heat to cook off. And cooking off 11,550 rounds in enclosed trench meant bullets flying in every direction. Men would be killed by their own ammunition, unless they protected themselves. Haynes ordered men to empty ammunition pouches into pile at center of trench. Men hesitated. Sergeant David Walsh, 3rd Platoon, 2nd in command, grabbed Haynes's arm. "You'll kill us all," Walsh shouted through mask. "We're already dead," Haynes said. "Filters failing. Maybe 20 minutes left. This is only chance." Walsh stared at him, then nodded. Started pulling ammunition from his pouches. Other men followed. Within 90 seconds, pile of .303 cartridges, 3 feet high, 4 feet wide at base. Haynes ordered men to gather every sandbag, every wooden ammunition crate, every piece of equipment that could serve as shield. Build protective barrier along trench walls. Men worked fast, stacking sandbags 3 deep along both sides of trench, creating channels that left only 2-foot wide corridor at center, where ammunition piles sat. At 5:02 a.m., 2 more men collapsed. Filters failed. 75 men left. Haynes knew gas masks wouldn't protect against bullets, needed something more. Ordered men to lie flat on duckboards behind sandbag barriers, feet toward, center of trench, where ammunition piles sat, bodies parallel to trench walls. Position minimized exposure to bullets that would ricochet off trench walls. Then Haynes poured kerosene from signal lamp onto ammunition pile. Liquid fuel would ignite easily, provide initial heat to cook off cartridges. Poured entire reservoir, approximately 2 pints. Kerosene soaked into cordite-filled brass cases. At 5:04 a.m., another man down. 74 left. Haynes ordered everyone down behind barriers. Men pressed against wet earth, shoulder to shoulder. 37 men along each trench wall. Haynes grabbed signal flare from emergency kit. Phosphorus flare, designed to burn underwater, would ignite kerosene even in damp conditions. He pulled striker, held flare above kerosene-soaked ammunition pile for 3 seconds. White-hot phosphorus dripped onto cordite and fuel. Kerosene caught instantly. Flames spread across pile. Haynes dropped flare and dove behind nearest sandbag barrier. For 5 seconds, only sound was kerosene burning. Quiet whoosh of flames. Then first cartridge cooked off. Bullet punched through sandbag 3 inches from Haynes's head. Sand sprayed across his mask goggles. He couldn't see. Wiped goggles with sleeve. More cartridges cooking off now. Rapid pops like firecrackers, accelerating into continuous roar. Bullets ricocheted off trench walls with metallic screams, smacked into duckboards, punched through sandbags. One man screamed, hit in leg by ricochet. Another hit in shoulder. But most men stayed flat, protected by sandbag channels Haynes had ordered built. Heat from burning cordite became intense. Temperature at center of trench climbed to estimated 200 degrees Fahrenheit within 20 seconds. Haynes felt heat through his uniform, through wet wool that steamed and stank. His exposed skin on back of neck felt like it was burning. But heat was working. Hot air rising from ammunition, fire created powerful updraft. Column of superheated air lifted mustard gas out of trench-like chimney drawing smoke. Yellow-green cloud began thinning, rising, dispersing into air 15 feet above trench instead of staying trapped at ground level. Ammunition cooked off for 47 seconds. Continuous roar of 11,550 cartridges igniting. Smoke-filled trench, thick and black, but smoke was better than gas. Smoke didn't blister lungs. Smoke would disperse. At 5:05 a.m., last cartridges finished cooking off. Sound faded to occasional pop as scattered rounds ignited. Fire at Pyle's center still burned, consuming wooden ammunition crates and anything else combustible, but main event was over. Haynes raised his head carefully, looked around. Yellow-green gas cloud gone from trench, lifted away by updraft. Smoke remained black and thick, but already thinning. He could see 20 feet, then 30, then across entire trench. Men began standing slowly, checking themselves for wounds. 3 men hit by ricochets. Corporal James Fletcher took bullet through calf. Private Thomas Wright hit in shoulder. Private Michael O'Brien hit in forearm. Serious wounds, but not immediately fatal. Battalion medic, Private Henry Shaw, began treating them. 74 men standing. 8 dead from gas before Haynes lit ammunition. 3 wounded by ricochets during fire. 71 men uninjured. At 5:11 a.m., gas cloud above trench had dispersed enough that visibility extended 100 yards. Haynes could see German lines. No movement. Germans probably assumed everyone in Trench 7 Alpha was dead or incapacitated. Haynes ordered men to check respirator filters. Most filters showed heavy yellow staining, but still functioned. Fire had lifted gas before filters failed completely. Men had maybe 10 to 15 minutes remaining filter life. Enough to wait for gas to fully disperse. At 5:23 a.m., air at ground level tested clear using canary in cage, standard British procedure. Canary remained active, no distress. Haynes ordered masks off. Men removed respirators carefully, breathed fresh air. Some men vomited from stress and heat exhaustion. Others just sat on duckboards, staring at pile of spent brass casings at center of trench. At 5:31 a.m., runner arrived from battalion headquarters. Lieutenant Colonel David Morrison sent messenger after gas attack was observed from rear positions. Messenger expected to find everyone dead. Instead found 74 men alive. 8 corpses from gas exposure. 3 wounded from ricochets. Pile of 11,550 spent cartridges. Burned sandbags. Scorch marks on trench walls. Messenger stared at scene. Asked what happened. Haynes explained. Lit ammunition to create updraft. Lifted gas out of trench. Messenger said that was insane. Said Haynes could have killed everyone. Haynes said everyone was already dying. Filters failing. Communication trenches collapsed. No evacuation route. Fire was only option. Messenger asked about casualties from ricochets. Haynes pointed to 3 wounded men. Said sandbag barriers protected most. Only 3 hit out of 74. Acceptable ratio, given alternative, was 74 dead from gas. At 6:12 a.m., relief force arrived. 2 companies, 240 men. Relieved Trench 7 Alpha's survivors. Haynes and his men marched back to reserve positions. Wounded men carried on stretchers. Battalion medical officer examined survivors. Found minor chemical burns on exposed skin from mustard residue. Lung irritation from smoke inhalation. Heat exhaustion, but no serious gas casualties beyond the 8 who died before Haynes lit ammunition. Medical officer asked Haynes how he knew fire would work. Haynes said he didn't know. Said it seemed logical. Hot air rises. Figured if fire was hot enough, it would lift gas. Only had one chance to find out if he was right. Medical officer told him he was either very smart or very lucky. Haines said probably both. On April 24, 1918, Lieutenant Colonel Morrison interviewed Haines. Morrison had received preliminary report from Messenger and Relief Force Commander. Wanted details directly from Haines. Haines explained, thinking, gas, trapped in trench. No evacuation route. Filters failing. Needed way to remove gas quickly. Fire creates updraft. Ammunition burns hot. Logic followed. Morrison asked about decision to sacrifice all ammunition, said men were left defenseless if Germans attacked. Haines said dead men can't shoot anyway. Ammunition was worthless if everyone died from gas. Better to burn ammunition and survive than keep ammunition and die. Morrison asked about men wounded by ricochets. Haines said he ordered sandbag barriers, built specifically to minimize ricochet casualties. Placed men in positions that reduced exposure. 3 wounded out of 74 was acceptable outcome given circumstances. Morrison asked if Haines had considered sending runner for help instead. Haines said yes. Also considered climbing out of trench to escape gas. Both options would have resulted in more deaths. Runner would likely die in gas, or from machine gun fire. Climbing out would expose everyone to machine gun fire. Fire was fastest solution that kept most men alive. Morrison reviewed German intelligence reports. Confirmed Germans were testing enhanced mustard agent formula. Concentration approximately 40% higher than standard formula. Persistence increased. British respirator filters not rated for enhanced formula. Expected filter life against enhanced concentration. 45 to 60 minutes maximum. Haines's men had been exposed for approximately 18 minutes before he lit ammunition. Filters would have failed within 30 to 40 minutes. Everyone would have died. Morrison wrote, commendation. Recommended Haines for Distinguished Conduct Medal. Citation would read, for conspicuous gallantry and devotion to duty during gas attack on April 22, 1918. When Staff Sergeant Haines displayed exceptional initiative and courage by devising unconventional solution to save his men from certain death. Commendation was submitted May 3, 1918. Went up chain of command through brigade, division, corps, levels. Each level reviewed. Each commander asked same question. Did Haines really light 11,550 rounds of ammunition in enclosed trench? Answer, yes. Second question. How many men died from ricochets? Answer, 0. 3 wounded, none fatal. Third question. How many men survived who would have died from gas? Answer, estimated 66 to 71. Based on filter failure rates against enhanced concentration. All 74 remaining men would have died within 30 to 40 minutes if Haines had not acted. On July 16, 1918, recommendation for Distinguished Conduct Medal was downgraded to mention in dispatches. Reasoning: Haines's actions, while effective, violated standard military doctrine. Intentionally destroying ammunition could be considered destruction of military property. Setting fire that could have killed men under his command showed reckless disregard for safety. Mention in dispatches was published in London Gazette, August 2, 1918. Citation mentioned Haines displayed initiative during gas attack, but did not describe what he actually did. Haines never received medal, never received formal recognition beyond mention in official dispatch. His name appeared in London Gazette, buried among 400 other names that week. But word spread through 118th Infantry Battalion, then through British Second Army, then across Western Front. Story of sergeant who burned ammunition to create updraft that saved 71 men became legend among frontline troops. Other units tried to replicate solution. Results were mixed. In some cases, fire successfully dispersed gas. In others, casualties from ricochets exceeded casualties that would have resulted from gas. Key difference. Haines had built protective barriers and positioned men carefully. Other sergeants who heard story third-hand missed those details. Lit ammunition without proper preparation. Men died. By September 1918, British High Command issued directive. Under no circumstances should personnel ignite ammunition to disperse gas. Standard gas defense procedures must be followed at all times. Directive specifically referenced incident at Sea Capri, April 22nd, as example of dangerous improvisation. Directive didn't mention that improvisation saved 71 lives. On November 11, 1918, armistice signed, war ended. Haines survived. Returned to Durham December 1918. Went back to coal mining. Worked in same pit where he'd worked before war. Pittington Colliery, 600 feet underground. Hewing coal with pick and shovel. Never talked about Sea Capri. When fellow miners asked about war, Haines said he was sergeant, gave orders, survived. That's all. Haines married, June 1919, Sarah Mitchell. Younger sister of Private James Mitchell, the 19-year-old whose mask Haines had helped secure at 4:48 a.m. on April 22, 1918. Mitchell survived war. Told his sister about Sergeant, who saved his life. Sarah wanted to meet him. Haines and Sarah had 4 children. Thomas worked in pit 37 years. Retired 1955 at age 61, with silicosis lung disease, common among miners. Damage from coal dust, compounded by damage from smoke inhalation. April 22, 1918. Haines died February 1967, age 73. Buried in Pittington Cemetery. Obituary in Durham County Advertiser mentioned. Served with distinction in Great War. Survived mustard gas attack, 1918. Did not mention what he did to survive. In 1984, military historian Dr. Robert Hayes researched British gas casualties during 1918 Spring Offensive. Found anomaly in casualty records. Trench, 7 Alpha, Sea Capri, April 22nd. Expected casualties, 89 dead or incapacitated. Actual casualties, 8 dead, 3 wounded. Survival rate, 88%. Hayes investigated. Found after-action reports. Found Morrison's interview notes. Found recommendation for Distinguished Conduct Medal that was downgraded. Found directive prohibiting ammunition ignition. Hayes tracked down survivors. Of 71 men who walked out of Trench 7 Alpha alive on April 22, 1918, 12 were still living in 1984. Hayes interviewed 9. All remembered Haines. All remembered fire. All credited him with saving their lives. Corporal David Walsh, who had grabbed Haines's arm and called Plan insane, was 86 in 1984. Told Hayes, "I thought Thomas had gone mad. Thought he'd kill us all. But he was right. Filters were failing. We had maybe 20 minutes left. Fire lifted gas in 4 minutes. Without Thomas, every man in that trench would have died. I was certain of it then. I'm certain of it now." Private James Mitchell, 85, told Hayes, "Thomas saved my life twice that morning. First, when he helped with my mask. Second, when he lit that fire. I heard him die in 1967. Lung disease. Same thing that would have killed him in 1918 if gas had gotten him. Except he got 49 extra years. We all did." Hayes estimated Haines's actions saved minimum 66 lives. Possibly as many as 71 based on filter failure rates against enhanced mustard formula. Hayes submitted findings to British Ministry of Defence. Recommended posthumous recognition for Haines. Recommendation reviewed 1985. Ministry of Defence response. Staff Sergeant Haines's actions, while resulting in favourable outcome, violated standing orders regarding ammunition, security, and gas defence procedures. Ministry cannot recommend recognition for actions that contradicted official doctrine, regardless of results. Haines's name does not appear in any British military museum, not in Imperial War Museum, not in National Army Museum, not in regimental histories of 118th Infantry Battalion, but among men who served Western Front, among soldiers who faced gas attacks in trenches where communication lines were cut and evacuation routes collapsed. Haines's solution became known, became whispered between veterans at reunions, became story told to grandsons who asked what war was like, became example of what happens when doctrine fails and someone has to make choice, follow regulations and die, or break regulations and maybe live. That's how survival actually happens in war. Not through following manuals. Through sergeants who see problems, calculate odds, accept consequences of being wrong, and act anyway. Thomas Haines made that calculation at 5:04 a.m. on April 22, 1918. He could have waited for relief force. By time relief arrived, everyone would have been dead. He could have sent Runner for help. Runner would have died. Help would have arrived too late. He could have ordered men to climb out of trench. Machine guns would have killed them. Instead, he lit 11,550 rounds of ammunition in enclosed trench, and hoped physics worked the way he thought it would. Physics worked. 71 men lived who should have died. Official recognition, one mention in dispatch, buried among 400 names. That's the story of Thomas Edward Haines. Staff Sergeant, who saved 71 lives by doing what military doctrine explicitly said never to do. Who returned to coal mines and worked 37 years and never told anyone what he did. Who died from lung disease in 1967 at age 73. Whose name doesn't appear in any museum. Whose obituary said he survived gas attack. But survival isn't passive. Survival is sergeant, standing in trench, filled with mustard gas at 5:04 a.m., holding phosphorus flare above pile of ammunition, knowing that in 5 seconds, bullets will ricochet through space where 74 men are lying. Knowing that if he's wrong, everyone dies from ricochets instead of gas. Knowing that if he's right, everyone lives. He was right. If stories like this remind you why we preserve military history, hit that like button. Subscribe for more forgotten heroes who broke regulations to save lives. Turn on notifications so you never miss these stories. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Anyone in your family served in World War I? Thanks for watching. Thanks for making sure Thomas Haines doesn't disappear into silence. Men like him deserve to be remembered. You're helping make that happen. We'll see you in the next story.